Hi, everyone. Adam back here with you. I've got a very special guest with me now, one of my internal business partners, if you will, Mr. Martin Workman. He is the Vice President of Product Management here with Viking. And Martin, I tell you, you got a tough act to follow here, buddy, with those guys ahead of us, with the Potter guys and their wireless supervisory switch and the Q Series air compressors from General. I hope you can stand the test here, man, because
Well,
you got big shoes to fill, pal.
those are some future thinking products, I'll tell you that.
Yes, indeed.
Especially with the wireless switches. So where our trade's going, we're obviously moving in that direction. I think Viking is too. We've got some new products that we're going to be launching this year, and we've stayed very active on the R&D front as far as trying to push products out, regardless of the virus or not. One of the big product lines that we're going to be launching that you know about would be our high expansion foam system.
Say that one more time.
I believe they're high expansion foam systems.
Oh, it's amazing.
So we've been working on it for quite a while. And high expansion foam, as you know, you see a lot of use of them in aircraft hangars, and the reason that you do is that you can reduce the water requirement from the other options that you have with protection in aircraft hangars. Usually, high expansion foam is the thing that everybody's taking the videos of or the photos and things like that. But the idea is that you fill a cubic space, and it's even designed that way. With the generator that Viking's developed, it's a little different. It's an aerating device as opposed to a fan powered. So there's no moving parts in it. That's one thing that we strive for as much as we can. No moving parts. That way, moving parts wear out, quite frankly.
Sure.
And anything that moves, you have to make sure that you keep it lubricated and testing it. So they're relatively light.
How light are they, Mark?
Well, they're pretty light. They're around 120 pounds each.
Whoa.
As opposed to standard generator. And this is these are two generators that are laying in the horizontal position because they can be vertical or horizontal.
Okay.
In the hangar, and as you can see, there's multiple locations at the ceiling, and as it fills the space, it pushes towards the wall, and that's really what you're designing to. We're looking at product availability into early in the fourth quarter. So you'll see that the bidding activity to a contractor will be for product delivery towards that end. So
this year, 2020.
2020, yeah.
Nice.
2020,
Nice.
yeah. So that's the nice part about that. It'll be part of our product line that we've had a hole in it. We haven't been able to offer it. I have a lot of people ask for it. And now I don't have to tell people to please wait. It'll be towards the fourth quarter. These will be a little bit different. When they're brought to site, there will be some assembly required. There'll be 8 bolts that the contractor will have to put together.
Oh, that's a lot. 8 bolts.
8 bolts. Yep, it's 8. In fact, I'm glad I'm not late because I was just in R&D putting one together to make sure that if I could put together 8 bolts, I figured an experienced fitter could. So that's what it typically looks like. We've got the next video that we're going to show you is if you were standing in a discharge, because so many people want to stand in the middle of one of these discharges, and it's not a good idea. You shouldn't do that.
Look at that.
And what happens is, and you'll see as this fills, you typically, you just go snowblind if you will. So I would never suggest anybody stand in the middle of a discharge. We have a video that shows you what it looks like.
That's good enough.
And that is good enough. That is true. So
that's good enough for me, man. Before we move on to that, there was a question I had for you, man. I can't believe it just absolutely escaped me from me. Oh no, digitized bidding. Are we gonna? I think we've got some tools, right, that are gonna be coming for that.
Yeah, with our digital products group have been working on a lot of things, and one of the things that we're working towards this launch is that literally you'll be able to go into our website and with a couple of simple dimensions, you'll literally have, okay, this is your material requirement, and you'll be able to push, bill of material, and it will come out with a bill of material. Now you can choose to, send that to Viking Supply Net for a quote, or if you want to look at, okay, this is what assigns to it. So if you want to know what size riser you're probably going to need, or if you were going to use a bladder tank, what size is that going to be? But it literally takes like 10 seconds.
That's fantastic.
And we'll actually have a tutorial for the, for the product that we're putting out there.
Right.
Because what we want to get away from, and I think a lot of people know Deb Baker at Viking.
I was going to say, please let everybody know Deb's not going
anywhere. They know Deb Baker more than they know Martin Workman, that's for sure.
Right.
But no, she's not going anywhere, but a lot of the effort that she has, we're trying to, put more in an electronic format, because some of these are, we have some really smart people in that group.
Yes,
I
indeed.
couldn't, I personally couldn't do it. I could get on the phone and talk, but, so. So other products this year that we have launched, one is our window sprinklers. And, anybody that knows me always knows that I walk around with a bunch of sprinklers in my pockets. It's really hard to carry a deluge valve in your pocket, but maybe someday.
Yeah.
So with these sprinklers, those are unique. We launched those around the first of the year. So we have a vertical sidewall, or vertical pennant as it's called on the data page, and then horizontal sidewall. What's really nice about what R&D did with the spacing on that is, one, they extended the spacing on the vertical sidewall or vertical pendant. I love that term, vertical pendant. I just shake my head every time I see it.
That is a new one.
Yeah, it's a new one. Yeah. But they've extended the spacing, so you have a wider spacing, and then typically spacing off the mullion has always been kind of an issue, because you've had to line right up at it. R&D got a 1 foot offset off the mullion, so it really adds to flexibility in design, because even with all today computer aided design, if the guy in the field doesn't build it exactly right, you could be a little bit off, and that would cost a contractor a fair amount of money, or it could. The other thing that I'm really excited about, and it's, I'm goofy. I'm really goofy.
Well, I think we have a bunch of real sprinkler nerds, if we will. We're all that way. That's what we do.
Okay, well,
right?
good. Well, then
we're all goofy that way.
They're not going to be bored with it.
No, they're not.
So
good.
We have we're coming out with a new commercial concealed sprinkler. It's the VK4621. It's your standard concealed sprinkler. It's K5.6. Gee, nothing sounds special yet.
Did we really need a new concealed sprinkler, Martin?
Well, sure we did. We needed a new concealed sprinkler. We didn't really need a new concealed sprinkler so much as it was probably the only exception to Viking's rule.
Okay.
When we were all manufacturers required to protect 3mm bulbs, Viking decided to protect every sprinkler it sent out. So it didn't matter if it was a link style, 5mm, all protective caps, somewhere, somehow, one way or the other, except for the concealed sprinkler. So you'd get the concealed sprinkler in the box, probably tape it or dope it, and then you'd take the protective cap off, put the wrench on, wrench away, and then probably put the protective cap back on. Kind of counterintuitive. So R&D really took a look at this, because it's just one of those things that is kind of against our grain, so to speak. So R&D came up with literally, a wrench that fits through the protective cap. And what's really nice about that, it makes in pretty easy. And then when you remove it, obviously, you've got the cap in place, but we also have a protective cap removal tool. So if you want to do that from the ground, and then if you're going to use our slip-on or push-on cover plate, you can just use that tool as well.
Now, are you going to let me hold that? You're acting like you're not going to let me hold it.
Okay, here you go. What do you think?
What have I got here, pal?
What did you think it was?
Well, I was expecting something a little heavier than this.
Yeah, we R&D, they're pretty intuitive about a lot of this stuff. So we had a metal wrench, and they literally kind of looked at it and said, a lot of customers like plastic wrenches. I go, yeah. So they built a plastic wrench, and the R&D engineer that did it, he came into my office. He says, I dropped this off the top of our R&D distribution lab, and it's pretty robust. I go, all right.
Off the top of the lab?
Yeah, off the top of the lab.
Oh, because he was up in the seat. Yes.
he was on the top.
Yeah.
And it fell off with the wrench in it. I go, wow. So we always try to do a lot of fitting of the sprinkler before we ship it to a customer. So it was the average. I went out there and, made in a bunch of heads, but they gave me that plastic head wrench. One of the guys from manufacturing, I grabbed, and we have a really big R&D lab, and I threw it about 40 feet, and it just goes bouncing across the floor. And this R&D engineer picks it up and does a Nolan Ryan with it against a cement wall. All it did was bounce off, and then we made about 50 heads in with it. And then that same wrench, they took into our lab and put a sprinkler in a vise and made it up to 30 torque pounds in and out 500 times.
Now, I don't know what 30 torque pounds is like. Now, can you equate that to something?
Yeah, I can tell you real easy. We have metal wrenches that'll break at 30 pounds. That's how much. You'll smash an escutcheon against an RC with a sprinkler at 30 foot-pounds.
Wow.
It's that much.
And we're talking about, that's how robust this is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. We're talking about when you're talking about the torque, it was here inside of the what is that, a 1/2 inch?
Yeah, that's a 1/2 inch drive. It's your standard socket
Yeah,
size,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we literally put a torque wrench on it both ways. So that's really kind of cool
That's
stuff.
awesome.
We're gonna, so we'll have the metal wrench available. A lot of people, they're like, nah, I think I want the metal one. That's fine. We'll make it available. But I really think we're gonna have a lot of traction with this plastic one. And then the removal tool, which I thought I had in my office.
Probably one of our sales guys might have.
I think somebody got some
sticky fingers
and left with it. But that tool as well, because there's a lot of contractors, especially when you're making it in heads, it's a finished space. And if you're dragging a ladder around, you don't want to do that. So the more that you can do from the ground, the better.
Absolutely.
So, and quite literally just, if you're pulling the cap and then you're placing the concealed plate in, it really helps with the finish on that, so that's coming up. You're going to see it.
So we didn't need a new concealed sprinkler. We needed a new way to install it and effectively address concerns in the field.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, and address our own concerns.
Yeah.
Anytime that you're removing a protective cap prior to, a job being finished, it can be a little problematic.
Sure.
And we just don't like that. So, and what's nice about it is the existing cover plates work for it. So if a contractor had a bunch of cover plates left over from a job and they just needed heads, they don't have to worry about getting a new cover plate. This was literally just a better installation, and you could see that from the basically the digital animation that we put together on
Awesome.
it. That's the best way to show it.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. What else? You got a lot of toys up here. So
Well,
what's next?
I did. I unloaded my jacket. That's what I did. Our stainless steel link sprinkler. It's a Cave 8. It's standard response. We brought that out, probably 4 or 5 months ago, I think. Maybe a little longer ago than that.
Stainless steel link.
Yep, stainless steel link. And what was odd about it, and I remember Scott Martirano is a good friend of mine. We've worked together for a long time. So I remember at a sales meeting one time, I said, this is what we're working on. And I sat next to him, he goes, Martin, we already have one. I go, one doesn't exist. And a lot of times people thought there was one because you'd see it in specifications. And, the place, I mean, I think where they're generally used.
I'm gonna say food processing.
Typically food processing, yeah.
So why stainless steel and why link in food processing?
Well, the link is more of an accountability. Call it almost kind of the quality process, if you will, for that group. So if you had a sprinkler operate due to fire or inadvertently or however, that you would be able to pick up and account for all the pieces.
Yeah.
You think about it, if they're manufacturing food, it's kind of a it's kind of a raw product for them. So they're going to throw that out anyway. They're just going to dump it, but they're going to want to count the pieces. Stainless steel is obviously stainless steel is a pretty inert metal, if you will. So it can be cleaned very easily.
So this actually looks like it. I mean, I've seen link sprinklers before as well, and this one really looks minimal. it's been minimalized to have very few pieces, hasn't it?
Yeah, the corrosion tests are extremely difficult for a corrosion-resistant sprinkler. Glass is much easier in corrosion-resistant sprinkler because there's not a lot that attacks glass. I mean, hydrofluoric acid is one thing, but metal, there's a lot of things that attack metal. So just the way that this link is coated is very, from the manufacturing side, they'll tell me it's very tedious, and I just kind of smile and I go, well, I know. I know.
Link sprinklers in general are tedious.
Yeah, they are. I mean, in this case, you'll notice that there's millions of sprinklers that we produce in bulbs. But in this case, this is truly a link requirement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that is exciting. That is a new forward-thinking innovation for us. I like it.
Yeah. Currently, it's available in a pendant, but an upright. We'll be following this probably this next year. Based on what we're doing with R&D. So we've kind of moved through our product line. The one thing we haven't talked about is storage.
Well, someone tried to steal our thunder a little bit earlier today and talk about the K28, I believe. But I believe that
who was that?
Some guys in the beginning. Some guys in the beginning of the day were going after the 514. I want you to expand on that a little bit today. Talk to us about storage in general, but bring us some goods about
storage in general. So, and I think you know this, when I started at Viking back in 1997, before the turn of the century, that's how long ago it was, before the turn of the century, Viking didn't even have an ESFR.
Could we even spell it?
I don't know that we could spell ESFR. I don't think it was part of our vocabulary. But since then, Viking invented a upright ESFR. So that was an invention of Viking. And then, of course, a pendant K14, a pendant K25, a pendant K17, a pendant K22, a dry K14, a dry K17, and now a K28. And one of the unique things about the K28 is what we attacked first with it.
Is this it here?
That's it. Yeah, I brought two so we could share. Didn't want to fight over them. The K28 is relatively unique because it was designed for just higher ceiling heights.
Sure.
It started out at UL at 48 feet and had a starting pressure of 35 psi, which was 10 psi lower than a competitor's K25. And I think you remember how much of a difference that made.
Yeah, we had a long discussion about that one day when I said it's just 10 psi, Martin.
Just
because well, let me show you what 10 psi looks like.
Well, and it does make a difference.
Sure does.
Obviously.
Sure it does.
The next thing that we attacked, and we were kind of waiting in line for a while to get to a test facility that could test over 50 feet. And Factory Mutual tests in 5-foot blocks, so you're going to test at 45, 50, or 55. So a few years ago, we tested at 55 feet, and ended up with a 9-head design at 55 feet. So it was the first of its kind, first 55-foot storage, ceiling only protection.
9-head design. What? I mean, that's.
Well, we performed so well in the fire test. That's one of the FM gives you what you perform, as opposed to anything that's prescriptive. Because in the past, we all knew it was a 12-head design. And FM just, they look at it different. I almost say that they reward good behavior, if you will.
Sure.
And 55 foot was awfully tall. It was taller than, it was one of those oh wow moments. So we did the testing at 55 foot, and we were really waiting for people to just knock our doors down because everybody said they wanted 55. Thought they wanted 55.
Sure.
And then Factory Mutual came out with some testing at 50 feet for K25s and K22. So Viking's K22 could be installed at 50 feet. Viking's K25.2 could be installed at 50 foot. Initially, it was a 12 sprinkler design. They since have looked at it, and it will get to a 10-head design, which is, that benefits the end user. The K28, when we ran our testing, we ran it at 40 PSI. And again, a 10 PSI advantage. And as you remember, that
Is an advantage.
That means something. That
Yes.
means something to people. So currently, if you look in 8-9, which is Factory Mutual's, basically their storage chapter. If you're gonna, want to protect commodities and in racks, or palletized storage, you go there, and then normally most people look at the charts. This is in the back of the book, but we have a 10-head design. We also have a 9 sprinkler option at the 50 feet with a K28. And that's what's so unique about that K28. So when you do the design, you're literally doing a 9 sprinkler calc, 3 sprinklers on 3 lines at 40 PSI. So that doesn't change, and that typically sizes your mains. Then you do a 4-head calc, 2 on 2 lines at 80 PSI, and that'll basically support your line size.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to reduce your flow by 200 gallons or calculate 1 less head, you just do a second calculation. So, here, as you can see, here that we're looking at, the 10 sprinklers as you would typically look at them.
Yes.
And then you'll see how that reduces now to the 9. And then it'll show the 4 as well. Just to give people an idea, back in the day when I was doing calculations with a chisel and a hammer and a rock, I would say
Before the turn of the century?
Before the turn of the century, I would say that, it would be an imposition. Oh, really? I have to do another calculation? Today, as we all know, most things are electronic. It's not, it's not that hard. It's just push a button. One other storage product that I'd like to talk about that does go with the ESFR. So as I mentioned, Viking can be installed at 50 feet with our K22, our K25, and our K28.
Yep.
If you want to reduce about 200 gallons a minute, do a 9-head calc and then do a secondary 4 sprinkler calc. But
I didn't know what you were doing with those here.
These are mini tomato cages.
I thought you were doing something special
for all the gardeners in America. Actually, these are our new ESFR sprinkler guards, and
ESFR sprinkler guard.
Yeah, ESFR sprinkler guards, and that's for a 1-inch, so that'd be a K22, K25, or K28.
Really, looks like I'm going to put these in after install, right?
Yeah, by and large, we looked at if there was a way to, devise some guard to put on the sprinkler and ship it in manufacturing. And really, we looked at it because we just kind of looked at it and said, well, if you make one that way, then you're going to have to make one for a retrofit. And we got a lot of, we talked to quite a few customers about it. Guys that really do, they're storage guys, and they said, no, this is, the kind of what they were looking for. So
this is going to wrap around, I'm guessing, right around the neck of the sprinkler, and then it's got a set screw.
Yeah, just
to the side.
Little tack screw, zip it in, and you're done. Yeah,
simple, man.
Yeah, they're really nice and robust.
Very robust.
Yeah, generally, today, in the past, if somebody would have asked for an ESFR sprinkler guard, you would have probably laughed them out of your office. But with the alternate in-rack design from Factory Mutual, and that's when you're going very tall.
Right.
And I think what we found with buildings, the cost of building a 55-foot building, you might as well go 100-foot tall. And the alternate in-rack design is such that you can, and I call it raise the floor, where every 40 feet or every 30 feet, you've got a row of these ESFRs, but not every level.
Right.
So there's a true savings in doing that, and a lot of times what you'll do is you'll choose the flow rate based on the commodity and the K factor. So each one is kind of required. The 1-inch is approved now. The 3/4 will be approved. We expect later in the summer.
Well, fantastic. Well, fantastic. So we've hit a little bit of everything today, I think, just like you said.
Yeah, it looks like we made the rounds, didn't we?
Yeah. Man, thank you for your time today.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Nice seeing everybody.